Alright, let's talk about something that's been a bit of a debate in the fitness world for a long time: training to failure. If you've ever pushed yourself hard enough in the gym to the point where you couldn't squeeze out another rep, that's what we call training to failure. Now, imagine if you could unlock your true potential by actually embracing this. What if I told you that training to failure might be the secret ingredient that could take your gains to the next level? Sounds intense, right? But it's not as scary as it seems, and in this video, I'll explain why this might just be the game changer you've been looking for. Now, here's the thing. For years, many fitness experts, including me, have been preaching that the key to muscle growth is all about training volume. You know, the number of sets and reps you do. We've been told that the more work you put in, the better your results. And for the most part, that's true. But there's always been this underlying question: what if we've been missing something more fundamental? What if the real breakthrough isn't just about cranking out more sets, but about pushing your muscles to their absolute limit, to the point of failure? You've probably heard about the dangers of training to failure. Maybe you've even been warned that it could lead to overtraining or that it's not necessary for building muscle. So, you've probably opted to just train close to failure or focused more on the volume aspect instead. But here's the twist. Recent research is starting to shed some new light on the topic, and it's challenging what we thought we knew about training to failure. The real question we need to ask ourselves is, how many of us truly understand what training to failure feels like? And I'm not just talking about the I can't do another rep kind of failure. I'm talking about real, absolute failure, where you can't do even one more rep, no matter how badly you want to. But when you're not really familiar with what that feels like, it can be hard to train close to failure in the right way. So, what's the solution to this dilemma? The solution might actually be simpler than you think. It's about training close to failure, but not just stopping there. You need to train all the way to failure occasionally to fully understand how it feels. Why? Because if you don't ever go all in, you might be selling yourself short when you're training close to failure in your regular workouts. The key isn't to do it all the time, but to incorporate it strategically into your training. Research is now suggesting that training to failure, when done right, can increase muscle growth and muscle activation significantly. And even more interestingly, training close to failure can be just as effective as going all the way to failure every single time. So, you might be wondering, why bother with failure at all if close to failure works just as well? Well, the answer is simple. By pushing yourself to failure every once in a while, you get a better understanding of what close to failure really feels like. It's like learning how to ride a bike. You've got to fall off a couple of times to get a feel for it. That's what training to failure does. It teaches you the sensations, the signals from your body that say, okay, this is the point where I should stop. Now, let's break it down a bit further and get into some practical details of how you can implement this into your own workouts. First, let's talk about the importance of understanding the concept of failure. So, let's say you're doing a set of squats. You've got a weight on the bar, and you're working your way through the set. The first few reps feel fine. You're breathing heavy, but you've got this. But then, by the last few reps, you're feeling your legs burn, your core is starting to shake, and you know you're pushing your limits. But how do you know when you've hit that true point of failure? That's where this new approach comes in. Occasionally, you need to push yourself past that point. When you're squatting, for example, you might normally stop a set after 10 reps because it feels challenging, but you're not completely spent. However, if you go all the way to failure, you're aiming for that 11th, 12th, or even 13th rep that you didn't think was possible. When you reach that point, you'll know exactly how far you can push your body the next time you train close to failure. And here's the key. Training to failure from time to time actually gives you better insight into when to stop when you're training close to failure. This means you won't have to guess how much more you have left in the tank. You'll know exactly when to call it a day and when your muscles are truly tapped out. But remember, just because we're talking about going all the way to failure doesn't mean you should do this for every set or every workout. That's not the point. The idea is to strategically add failure training into your program once a week or even just once a month, depending on your goals and how your body responds to it. This gives you a better sense of your limits, but it also ensures that you're not overdoing it. For example, once a week, you might choose a compound lift like deadlifts or bench press and take one of your sets to failure. Start with just one set of failure training and gradually experiment with it to see what works best for you. If you're doing deadlifts, you might aim for 8 reps in your regular working set, but on failure day, you'll push yourself for 10 or 12 reps, even if it means a little bit of a struggle. As long as you're not compromising your form, go for it. This occasional failure training will give you better insight into your body's signals, which will come in handy during your regular workouts. Why you should keep practicing failure training. Here's another key point. Even if you're an experienced lifter, it's still valuable to practice training to failure occasionally. Why? Because the way failure feels changes over time. When you're first starting out, hitting failure might feel like a foreign concept. But as you get stronger and more experienced, you'll notice that the same weight might feel a lot easier. Your threshold for failure might change, and this means that what once felt like failure may not feel like enough anymore. So, regularly practicing failure training will ensure that you keep your body challenged and that you don't plateau. And remember, we're not saying that every set should be pushed to failure. But even experienced lifters should mix in these full failure sessions to keep improving and avoid getting complacent in their training. If this video got you thinking about your training and you want to dive deeper into training to failure, make sure to check out the other videos I've made on this topic. There's a lot more to uncover about how you can train smarter and safer while still pushing your limits. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more fitness tips and tricks. Here at Simple Workout Space, we break down the science of fitness in a way that's easy to understand and apply. So, if you want to keep improving your workouts, you're in the right place. Also, I want to hear from you. Have you tried training to failure before? What's been your experience? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends who might be looking to step up their training game. To wrap it up, training to failure isn't something you need to do every single workout, but it's definitely a tool that can make a big difference in how you train. By strategically incorporating it into your program, you'll gain a better understanding of your body's limits and know exactly when to stop during your regular training. And remember, always prioritize good form and safety when pushing yourself to failure. It's all about working smart, not just hard. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, don't forget to get your protein.